Hey guys, BJ the Brave here, back with some more Warpforge content, and this time coming at you in full 1080p. I only just realised that a lot of my videos have been in 720, and so I made a change to the recording settings on OBS, and hopefully that means that the look and feel, the quality is going to be a bit higher for you guys on YouTube. Alright, so yeah, just want to say a massive thank you, by the way, before we jump into you, for all the support. I'm up to 1,500 subscribers now on YouTube, which is awesome, and I really appreciate all of the support. And you guys, hopefully you have been enjoying the content on the channel, and look forward to much more to come. Alright, so what I figured I would do today is take a look at the Ramtech reinforcements and pull together kind of like my initial tier list for these cards. So I'm actually going to start off with Ramtech. Now, Ramtech the Cruel is an interesting warlord. I quite like him. He's a 35 health warlord, and his hardwired destruction gives him another destroyer, because he's a destroyer, +1/+1, and in addition, if they are a destroyer, they get +1 health as well. Now, the reason why I like this card is because I mean, apart from that's pretty cool, particularly with the armor. It actually lasts not just in your turn, but in the opponent's turn as well, and that's a big change actually. It's quite a unique thing, and it reminds me a bit of the Nexus in the, which isn't a warlord, obviously just a card, but the Nexus from the GSC, similar thing, and I think it's a really good thing, and I'd like to see that ability more in the game. I would say the only thing with Ramtech is obviously being a destroyer does limit what he can attack. So for example, if your opponent's got an enemy remnant on the board and you want to hit face, you can't. You have to clear the remnant. So he's a little bit drawn back, otherwise he'd actually make a pretty good aggro warlord. And I think the key thing with Ramtech at the minute is that I don't think we've found the optimal list with him yet, and I'm not sure whether he's still got great synergy with some of the cards in the faction. The Destroyer's always been one of the weakest kind of archetypes in the faction. There are a few cards that help, but I still think that Ramtech is, like, honestly, it's probably still not quite there for me. So I actually am going to say that right now, I actually think Ramtech is probably in the bad, card column. Or at least situational, but probably bad for me if I'm being really brutally honest. Okay, next up we have got the Damaged Plasma Sight. Now the Damaged Plasma Sight is a true drop, it's a flyer, and it's also got Remnant, and it says that adjacent units have regeneration 2. And guys, by units that includes your warlord, so I absolutely love this card. It actually goes really well with Ramtech the Cruel, because if Ramtech's putting armor on and then you've got this guy, you can start to make a pretty defensive lord. Yeah, I absolutely love this card, guys. Like, you can play the 3-drop Praetorian Guard, attack face, so it goes down to 2 health, and then obviously if the Damaged Plasma Sight's next to it, it puts the guard back up to 4, and then heals 2 essentially to your warlord. And that healing to your warlord is where I think this is really great. It's actually already probably one of my favorite cards in the game. I really love this, and I think having more ways to heal our warlord and things, I think is a good thing. So yeah, I think this is a really good card. It is only 3 health, it's a 2-drop, so it's like, you know, your opponent can get rid of it, but I think overall I'm going to say that I think this is top of the good cards. Solid 4-star for me. Alright, next up we have the Flair One Pack. This card has the potential to be super high rolly. Like, if you imagine that you've got the Undying Legion down, and then you go off with this guy when you're going second, and you've got like the defense card, something like Devin Menhir or whatever. So that's a 0-cost spell that triggers this ability, which deploys a flared one. But Menhir lets you then play another cheap spell like your Warlord talent, that then triggers another flared one. And if your Warlord talent was Nemesis, by the way, that means you've also put down a 2/2 with Vanguard. So in that sequence we just described there, you end up putting the Flared One Pack down, getting 2 Flared ones and a Vanguard out. That's a really powerful play. The problem with this card is that you need to have that set up. So if you're going first, right, you don't have those defense cards, and it means that, like, in order to get really good value from this card, you're probably not playing it till something like turn 6, turn 5, turn 6 or something. And by that point, you're sort of like, well, you probably could be playing better things. So overall, I think that this, for me, is like, I was very, very excited about this to start with, but I think overall, I'd have to honestly say that I think the card's situationally good. Like, it's not good enough to be 4-star because, like, there's many situations where it's just bad, and having it on 3, even though it says it's a 3-drop, it really isn't a 3-drop. Next up, we've got the Locust Destroyer. Now, this card is really interesting because it's also got Remnant and Destroyer, and it says when another troop dies, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. Now, for 4 energy, the stats are pretty good there, right? The health's not great, and therefore it doesn't trade down very effectively. Like, smaller units can finish this off. But what is good about it is that it has this ability. It's not like a rally effect, but it's kind of similar. You can manipulate the state where you kill a few units, and then this is doing a couple of pings and 1 damage. So overall, I think this is like an okay card. Like, it's obviously got certain combos where it's sick as hell, like in a Scarab deck, for example, because if you've got a wide board of Scarabs, or your opponent has, obviously you can just you can kill 8 units, right? And that means this thing deals 8 damage. So it's pretty awesome in that type of Scarab deck, to be honest. You definitely want to be running into in that. But outside of that, I think it's just a very reasonable card. Pretty decent stats, nice for the trade, but nothing too OP, kind of easy, fairly easy to take out. I'm going to put it in the 3 stars. Next up, we have the Damaged Hexmark. Now, guys, this card is a Remnant for 5, and it has a very unique ability. As well as being a Destroyer, it says Artifice attacks by itself. So every time we cast a spell, that means that this will make the most optimal play that it can make within the confines of the Destroyer rule. So, in other words, if there is another unit there that it can attack, it will have to do that because it is a Destroyer, but it will make the most optimal play within that. What is amazing about this, though, and anybody who's played Orkz will get what I'm saying here straight away, is we have a little unit in the Orkz called the Warbiker, guys, and that has been a meta card for a long time. Why? Because it's a finisher. It's something you can play from your hand that can do an awful lot of damage to face. This guy has some ridiculous synergies, particularly with things like the blades that can give this thing extra damage. Actually, the blades is not a good one because that's melee, isn't it? But still, the synergy this has, you know, you play like a what's the 1-drop that does 2 damage? For example, you play that, and this attacks. And it's obviously got good synergies, better synergies with things like Stalkers, actually. That's something I might have a look at. But ultimately, just the ability to essentially attack face. Yes, guys, you can play this card. If you play a spell and there's nothing on the board, it will attack face. So it's not limited like a flanker. It will allow you to finish the game. And because that's such a premium ability in the game, I am actually going to say that I think this is a must-have S-tier card. And speaking of which, I also think the Immortals Phalanx is an S-tier card as well, right? How can we not with this, guys? I mean, it's a beefy unit that trades up really well, right, with a 7 range. I really like the anti-flyer stat line that this guy has. And in addition to that, good health. And in addition to that, Remnant, regeneration as well. So if they don't take it up the full 7 out, it can heal. And of course, the big bomb is that when it gets reanimated, you make a copy of this troop. That's super powerful. And again, if you've got the Undying Legion with this thing, oh my goodness. So I think this guy is like, I think this guy's super powerful. I'm gonna say this guy's a 5-star card for sure. So let's stick him in the must-haves. Let's put him in here. There we go. Also notice, guys, that I've moved the Warpforge logo to the S tier. Some people thought that there was some sort of Freudian slip going on because I had it down in the unplayable column. So I have addressed that. Please take note. Please leave a comment. All right, what we got next? Next up, we've got what is my second favourite card in the expansion. I think the Damaged Plasma Sight is my favourite, but I think this is very close. I really like the Locus Lord. Like, why would you not play this? At 6 energy, this is a card that you can play in pretty much any Necron deck, and it does a good job. It's a solid statted unit. It has Remnant, it has regeneration too, and when it dies, it puts a Res Orb in your hand. Wow, guys. Super powerful card. Your opponent is going to want to not only kill this, but get rid of the Remnant, and even if they do that, you've still got the Resurrection Orb. If they don't get rid of the Remnant, remember, you can bring this guy back to life immediately because you've got a Res Orb, and then if he dies again, you get another Res Orb. So it just keeps going round and round. So I think overall, I would say that along with the Phalanx and the Hexmark, that is a 5-star card, and probably the best of the 3, to be honest. So there it goes, straight into the top. Next up we have the Annihilation Barge. Now the Annihilation Barge, I like the idea here. It's a flying unit. 8 health. With flying, he's not easy to take out, and 6 range. Now, it does not... So it does have an ability that impacts the board immediately, which is Artifice, deal 3 damage to the enemy with the lowest health. And I think that is pretty cool bit of writing in the ability there, that it says with the lowest health. So that means that you can kind of manipulate and control whether that's going to hit the Warlord, whether that's going to hit, which would be very situational, but more likely it's going to take out a certain troop. And I think that that's quite unique. I think that's really welcome. And the Blast 3 is obviously very lovely as well if it does survive the next turn. The problem with this card is that in order to trigger... Artifice is not good on very expensive units, right? Because you've got to spend the 8 to put this thing down, and then you need enough energy left to play, hopefully, 1 or 2, probably 2 triggers, so it just gets too expensive. And for me, that makes this card almost unplayable. I would say that this is a really tough one. Where would you put this, guys? Would you have this as a 1-drop, as a 1-star? Is it unplayable realistically, or is it kind of bad? And remember, bad cards too, they doesn't mean they're completely unplayable. They can be used in the right deck, but they're not probably like the best cards. Maybe I'm going to put that just in the bottom of bad and be kind. I was going to put it in the unplayable, but I do like the card design, and I want to kind of acknowledge that a little bit. Yeah, let's put it in bad. Alright, next up we got the Dimensional Corridor. Now the Dimensional Corridor is pretty cool because it says choose a troop from your deck, draw it and create a copy. Now 3 energy is putting 2 cards in your deck essentially. We've got lots of cards in the game that do this. The advantage that this gives you is that you get to choose. So it's going to show you 3 cards rather than just drawing the top card from your deck. It's going to show you 3 cards and you get to pick which one is most useful. I think that's pretty powerful. I think that's better than, say, the Tyranid one that gives +1 health, or maybe even better than the Orc one, which gives +1 melee. And I do run those cards. What is also pretty cool is that there was a patch that came out. This didn't work this way when it first came out, but there's been a mini patch that came out that basically changed something, which is that if you have made the cost of your units cheaper using the Implacable Conqueror, when you play the Dimensional Corridor now, the copied card is also cheaper. It wasn't like that when it first came out, but I can confirm it does work like that now. And so because of that, this card has got much, much better. I can't decide whether I think this is situationally good or whether I just think this is outright good. I'm going to put it like here for now, and I'm going to actually come back to that. So let's take a look at the Awakened Dynasty and the Inescapable Retribution. So first of all, the Inescapable Retribution, we already know that the Tomb Blade is a really, really good unit and is a card that is played and has been played forever now in Necrons, right? So what we're essentially doing is we're getting 2 of them. They usually cost 3 energy and you're getting 2 for 5. So do the maths, guys. 2.5 per unit. That is really good. Even when you compare this to a Doom Scythe, the raw stats that you're getting from this is better than a Doom Scythe, and it leaves body for remnants. Now, the upside that Doom Scythe's got over this is that it can be discounted through Implacable Conqueror, which this can't, and in addition to that, the Doom Scythe, having the 5 health, can attack and kill something and still be left on board. So there are some kind of pros and cons to both units, but the Doom Scythe is in all decks, and the Tomb Blade is in all decks, and therefore getting the 2 of them for that price, I think this is a really solid card, guys. There's only 1 rating I can give this, and it is 4-star. It's like not, it's a little bit dull. It's not the sexiest cards from the release for sure, but it is effective. So for me, that is a 4-star. And then last but not least, we'll come back to the Dimensional Corridor, but last we've got the Awakened Dynasty. I love this card. Now, it's another draw card, and there's part of me that thinks we've not had drawing Necrons, so the fact that we've got them makes them somewhat better than they probably are as just kind of at baseline. This is also draw 2 cards, but for 4 energy. That's a bit expensive. That's comparatively to other draw cards, that's 1 more energy cost. Let's see what we get. It says for each troop drawn, create a reanimation protocol in your hand. I think that getting reanimation protocol, which is a 1-drop reanimate stuff, is actually really powerful. Think about how many times you're like praying you're going to draw your Technomancer so you can actually heal your board. And because so many, now with the new cards, so many have got Remnant, there's so many things that we can heal and bring back. So I think Reanimation Protocol as a card has actually got better now that we've got more Remnants in the game. The value of it's got better. And so I actually think this is a good card. And obviously if you build the deck and you're going to run this, you do need to be playing more troops based than stratagems. I still think that this is probably a 3 for me. I still think 4 is quite expensive to draw 2, and it's taking a lot. You know, you're taking a lot of like time off from playing keeping up with tempo by playing that. And how do I think Dimensional Corridor compares to it? I think these two are very close, to be honest. I actually think I'm gonna put them both in. Yeah, I think Dimensional Corridor is slightly less good because even though you're getting the 2 cards and you get to choose, you are just getting the cards. There's no extra buff to them. I think Awakened Destiny potentially getting 2 reanimation protocols. It reminds me of the Chaos one a little bit, right? Where you get the 2 dark packs. So I'm going to put that slightly just above. So overall, guys, that is my final list. Like I say, I wasn't sure about whether Annihilation Barge is unplayable. Let me know what you think in the comments. But overall, I think this is a really solid expansion. Some really fun cards and really effective cards. And so I think this is probably overall the best reinforcement drop that we've had. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, any of the ones that you agree with or disagree with. Thanks again for all the support. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take it easy.